Farmers run businesses that generate hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue, manage complex logistics, track commodity markets, supervise seasonal employees, maintain detailed records for tax purposes and environmental compliance, and make purchasing decisions on equipment that rivals small aircraft in cost. And they do all of this while also being the primary labor force. There's no HR department, no accounting team, no IT support. Just one person, or maybe a small family, doing everything from fixing a broken auger at 3 a.m. to analyzing futures contracts to deciding which hybrid seed variety will perform best in their specific soil conditions. Most people think farming is about planting seeds and harvesting crops. They picture someone on a tractor enjoying fresh air and wide open spaces. What they don't see is the farmer hunched over a laptop at 10 p.m., comparing seed prices across 3 different suppliers while simultaneously calculating whether the 11.3% profit margin they averaged last year can sustain another season of rising input costs. They don't see the weekend spent calibrating planter equipment to ensure seeds drop at exactly the right depth, because a $500,000 combine breaking down mid-harvest doesn't just cost repair money, it can wipe out an entire year's income. The average farm generates around $651,000 in annual revenue. Net farm income averages $127,000. That sounds decent until people realize these numbers represent businesses where farmers wear every single hat. They're the CEO, making strategic decisions about which crops to plant based on futures market analysis. They're the CFO, tracking profit margins that hover around 11% on good years. They're the equipment manager performing precision mechanical work on machinery that costs more than most houses. They're the compliance officer maintaining 7 years of tax records and documenting every pesticide application for federal regulations. And they're still the ones actually doing the physical work, the planting, the spraying, the harvesting. Here's what that actually looks like in practice. Before planting season even starts, farmers spend weeks in their shops, not farming, wrenching. They're sharpening combine blades, checking oil levels, changing filters, and greasing bearings on equipment worth $500,000. Repair costs run 5 to 8% of a machine's purchase price annually. For a $120,000 tractor used 400 hours per year, that's roughly $4,000 in repairs. And that's assuming nothing major breaks. Farmers who skip this preventive maintenance see repair bills jump 25% higher. But here's the thing most people miss. This isn't just about saving money. It's about survival. One 8-hour breakdown during planting costs $2,400. During harvest, equipment failures mean watching weather windows close. Rain hits. Crops sit in fields getting damaged. The entire season's work turns into a financial catastrophe because a hydraulic hose failed. So farmers become mechanics out of necessity. They learn electrical systems, hydraulic systems, engine diagnostics. They stock replacement parts. And when something breaks at 3 a.m. during harvest, and it will, they're out there with a flashlight and socket wrench, racing against a weather forecast that shows rain in 6 hours. Then there's the business side nobody talks about. Farmers don't just grow crops and sell them at whatever price the market offers. They actively manage price risk through futures contracts. Picture this. It's May. A corn farmer in Iowa just finished planting. The December corn futures contract is trading at $5.50 per bushel. The farmer calculates the break-even price at $4.50 per bushel. So they sell a futures contract, essentially locking in that $5.50 price for corn they won't harvest for 6 months. This requires understanding basis spreads, the difference between local cash prices and futures prices. It requires monitoring margin accounts and depositing additional money when prices move against the position. It requires deciding which contract month to use, when to roll positions forward, and whether to hedge all anticipated production or just a portion. A single corn futures contract covers 5,000 bushels. Initial margin requirements run around $990 per contract. Farmers need relationships with licensed brokers who can execute trades through commodity exchanges. They need to understand that hedging isn't about making a profit. It's about reducing risk. And they need to make these financial decisions while simultaneously deciding which hybrid seed variety offers the best disease resistance for their specific soil conditions and climate patterns. The record-keeping alone would overwhelm most small business owners. Farmers must maintain detailed financial records for at least 7 years for tax compliance. Production records tracking planting dates, harvest yields, input usage. Labor records documenting hours worked, wages paid, training certifications for employees. Pesticide application records showing what was sprayed, when, where, and by whom, all to comply with FDA food safety regulations. Equipment maintenance logs, insurance policies, environmental compliance documentation. Many farmers spend several hours per week just entering this data. Some use spreadsheets. Others invest in farm management software that costs thousands of dollars annually. A few still use the Cornell Farm Account Book, a paper ledger system that costs $20 but requires hand entering every single transaction. The advantage of paper? It's simple. The disadvantage? It takes time that could be spent actually farming. The advantage of software? Real-time financial statements. The disadvantage? Learning curves, subscription fees, and the reality that when the software crashes, farmers become their own IT department. And here's where it gets even stranger. Farmers must track not just aggregate farm finances, but profitability by enterprise. That vegetable plot generated $20,000 in revenue with $12,000 in expenses, a 40% profit margin. The soybean field brought in $35,000 but cost $30,000 to produce, only a 14% margin. Without tracking these details separately, farmers might assume soybeans are the moneymaker because of higher gross revenue. But they'd be wrong. The vegetables are far more profitable per dollar invested. These calculations determine what gets planted next season, which fields get more resources, and whether the farm survives or slowly bleeds money. Then there's the weather obsession. Farmers don't just check weather apps, they live inside weather data. Wind speed above 10 miles per hour, can't spray pesticides safely, drift becomes a liability issue. Humidity climbing past 60%, harvest stops because grain moisture content is too high. Dew still on soybeans at 9 a.m.? The combine sits idle while thousands of dollars in opportunity costs tick away. Most people check weather once in the morning. Farmers check it constantly. Multiple apps, radar overlays, hyperlocal forecasting services that provide field-specific predictions with kilometer precision. They track rain clouds to optimize irrigation schedules. They monitor temperature to avoid frost damage. They watch extended forecasts to plan harvest windows around the biological countdown of crops reaching optimal moisture levels. During harvest season, farmers routinely work 80-hour weeks, but they can't work around the clock even if they wanted to because moisture levels dictate when work can happen. So they spend nights calculating the exact window when crops will be dry enough to harvest, but not so late that weather ruins everything. The equipment costs deserve their own reckoning. A modern combine runs $500,000. A four-wheel drive tractor can cost $400,000. After 4,000 hours of use, accumulated repair costs hit about 4.8% of purchase price. By 12,000 hours, repairs reach 43% of what the machine originally cost. And these aren't just financial numbers. They represent real decisions farmers make constantly. Should they buy new equipment or repair the old? Lease or purchase? Do the work themselves or hire custom operators? Custom farm work rates for field cultivation run about $12.75 to $15.25 per acre. A farmer who owns equipment might spend $9.58 per acre when factoring in all ownership and operating costs. That difference makes owning equipment economical until the combine breaks during harvest and the farmer realizes they've bet everything on machinery, working when it absolutely must work. This is why farmers spend weekends performing preventive maintenance. Research shows 65% of harvest failures could have been prevented with proper pre-harvest inspection and routine maintenance. Every farmer knows this. They also know that routine maintenance takes time they don't have, so they make impossible calculations, sacrifice hours now, or risk catastrophic failure later. The profit margins themselves tell a sobering story. The average operating profit margin for farms hovers around 11.3%. Some farms in the top quartile achieve 20% or higher margins. Others barely break even. Only about 64% of farms cover all accrual expenses, depreciation, and unpaid family labor. Just 12% earn what economists call an economic profit, meaning they cover not just expenses, but opportunity costs, the returns they could have earned investing their money elsewhere. What does this mean practically? It means farming is a business where hundreds of thousands of dollars flow through the operation, but the person running it might take home less than they'd earn working a salaried job, and they're working far more hours. During peak seasons like harvest, farmers clock 14 to 16-hour days, 7 days straight. Then they go home and spend evenings managing the business side, reviewing financial statements, planning next season's inputs, negotiating contracts, filing compliance paperwork. There's no separating the physical work from the business work. A farmer might spend the morning repairing a broken auger, the afternoon in the field monitoring equipment performance, and the evening analyzing commodity prices to decide whether to sell stored grain now or wait for prices to rise. They need to understand agronomy, mechanics, finance, commodities trading, labor law, environmental regulations, and business strategy. They need relationships with seed suppliers, equipment dealers, commodity buyers, insurance agents, lenders, and licensed commodity brokers. Most farmers don't have business degrees. They learned through necessity. The equipment dealer who sold them a $500,000 combine also taught them about financing options and depreciation schedules. The commodity broker explained futures contracts while helping them manage price risk. The extension agent provided record-keeping templates while explaining new FDA regulations. This is agricultural education by immersion, learning complex business operations while simultaneously running those operations, and they do it largely alone. Large-scale family farms with over $1 million in annual revenue have a better shot. 54% achieve operating profit margins of 25% or higher. Small family farms generating under $350,000. Only 10 to 19% reach those margins. Size matters because it brings economies of scale, but most farms remain family operations where one person or a small family handles everything. There's no delegating to specialists, there's no management team, just someone who wanted to farm discovering they've actually become a business owner, equipment manager, financial analyst, commodity trader, mechanic, IT specialist, and compliance officer all at once. Every single decision carries weight. Choosing the wrong seed variety reduces yields. Miscalculating fertilizer needs tanks profit margins. Missing a weather window delays planting, which shifts the entire season. Failing to hedge commodity prices exposes the farm to market volatility. Skipping equipment maintenance invites catastrophic breakdowns. Poor record-keeping brings regulatory fines or missed tax deductions. This is why farmers spend winter months, the supposed off-season, planning, reviewing last year's yields, analyzing which crops performed best, evaluating equipment performance, attending educational meetings about new agronomic practices, comparing seed catalogs, building enterprise budgets, making decisions that will determine whether next year succeeds or fails. The strangest part? Most people will never know any of this happens. They see farmers on tractors and think it's a simple, peaceful life. They don't see the laptop open at 10 p.m. showing futures market data. They don't see the maintenance bay where farmers spend weekends calibrating precision planting equipment. They don't see the filing cabinets full of compliance documentation. They don't see the stress of managing a business with 11% profit margins and zero room for error. Farming looks like a lifestyle. It is a lifestyle, but it's also a complex business operation that would challenge any MBA graduate. And farmers run these operations while simultaneously doing the physical labor. They're not just making strategic decisions, they're executing them personally, often with equipment they've maintained themselves, on land they've studied for years, growing crops they've hedged on commodity markets while documenting everything for regulatory compliance. So yes, farmers plant seeds and harvest crops. But between those visible moments, they're running businesses. They're managing logistics that would make supply chain executives sweat. They're making financial decisions with hundreds of thousands of dollars at stake. They're performing precision mechanical work on equipment that costs more than most people's houses. They're tracking weather data like meteorologists, analyzing markets like traders, maintaining records like accountants, and solving mechanical problems like engineers. And they're doing it without the support systems most businesses take for granted. No HR department to handle labor issues. No accounting team to reconcile books. No IT support when systems fail. No maintenance crew for equipment, just farmers, handling everything themselves, because that's what farming actually requires. If this gave you a new perspective on what farmers actually do every day, drop a comment below. And if you found this valuable, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. It helps more people discover what really happens behind the scenes in agriculture. Thanks for watching.